Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for January 8th, 2022. So the first week of the month was great I had a couple days off, and then I had to work 4 days that were really quiet. So work was just kind of boring. But I made it through. And then I actually had to socialize yesterday. I went to a friend's house for dinner, which was spectacular. So it was great to see them again and hang out. But, you know, I had to be social yesterday, so that was kind of shame. I did spend most of the earlier part of the day figuring out my stats and stuff for 2022. So I will have those videos coming up later this week, as well as my series update, series update. So look forward to those this week. Hopefully those will film okay. Anyway, so other than that, there's not much going on. I'm still trying to get rid of the wood from all the trees that came down. I think I have a coworker who's going to take some of it, so hopefully that'll work out. I still need to take the 2 really big trees down, but I think we're going to wait a few months. It's just, they're huge, but we keep having windstorms, so branches keep falling, and I feel kind of bad because several of them fell down in my neighbor's yard. Didn't hit, you know, not like their house or anything, just the yard. But that evergreen's got to go. Anyway, so other than that, not much else is going on. I do want to just say that I am trying to be very aware of how many books I'm buying this year. I mean, I've always talked about this, that I lose control, and I just love to buy books. And when I gone through and figured out my series, the numbers of how many series I have, books I have, I'm kind of hoping that I can do the whole thing where I have to at least read 1 book off my shelf before I can buy a book. I would like to get to the point where I can read a couple books before I buy a book, but right now I have a couple pre-orders, so I'm at a deficit right now. So we'll see what happens. But I am keeping a little closer track of books coming off my shelf and ones I'm buying, and then trying to read what I buy so that it's, you know, so it doesn't stay on my TBR too long. So, well, as I said, I'm still working on that. I might, maybe after a month or so, if it's working, I might have a kind of update video on that. But just be aware, so far for the first week of the month, I've done fairly well. But that's only a week, so because I bought a lot of books the week before, so I'm probably okay. But we'll see how the next couple weeks go. Anyway. Okay, so let's talk about the books that I read, the ones I'm in the middle of, and one I think I'm going to read in the next week. So I had 2 books I was like going back and forth on what I was going to read first, but none of the 9th one by Tamsin Muir. So this is book 3 in the Locked Tomb series. So there's not a whole lot I can say about this, except that this series is a series that definitely it just has to hit you right. Because the first time I tried Gideon the Ninth, it didn't work for me, and because I had gotten it from the library when it first came out, when everybody was talking about it, and also a coworker had said he really liked it, but I just couldn't get into it. And then when I picked it up by whim in November and got it at Barnes & Noble, for some reason that day it hit me, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I understand what's going on. So I don't know if it was just the timing or whatever, but each of these books is written completely different. Again, the tagline is necromancer, lesbians in space, which is so light on what this book is. These are fantastic views of a political system and things that are going on. The first book, Gideon, of course, is following Gideon and Harrow as they go to try to become lictors for the emperor. And so there's a whole like murder mystery, locked, like kind of not locked room, but like they're trapped there and things start happening. The second book is like a complete departure and has different perspectives and things. You don't really know what's going on. I know it's very confusing, but I just adored that book. It's my favorite of the 3. But Nona was really fun too, because you knew that something was wrong and something was going on, but the perspective is so different. It's almost, even though it's a dark time for these people and things that are going on, it still kind of has this lightness to it that I was not expecting when I started it. I mean, maybe I should have, because she's smiling anyway, but it was kind of funny. I really enjoyed this. I think it's, of the 3 though, I think it's my least favorite, just because of what happens in this book, but the ending was just fantastic. And again, she is really great at cliffhanger. Well, the cliffhangers, things happen right at the end, but it's like so much stuff happens at the end, and then you don't really understand half of it, and you need the next book to kind of figure out what happened. But then she never drops you back to what had just happened. It's like, again, the perspective has shifted. And in Nono, we're following a character who views the world very differently from the other people, and we know that there's something going on, and we just have to learn a lot of things with her as we go. And this was just a ride. As I said, I really enjoyed it. I did tab quite a bit of it, not too bad. This one, as I said, I think Harrow is still my favorite of the three, but I really enjoyed this. Again, this series to me has been a surprise. I've just adored it. And so I said, it's again a weird space about a lot of political stuff and a lot of weird stuff going on here. And it was just so weird. And then this book also threw in like a detail that I wasn't quite sure from something that happened in book 2 that I wasn't sure of. And then it kind of came to light in here, and I'm like, well, okay, I caught that. That's pretty cool. So there's like, there's a lot of Easter eggs, things from the other books, and things that I'm hoping that the last book, which is Alecto the Ninth, is supposed to hopefully answer all the questions. But I'm hoping it's going to be out this fall, but I haven't heard for sure, I don't think. So I don't think we have a solid date. But once we do, I'll be so excited because I can't wait to continue the series. And I'm so glad that I, as I said, read that as my first book of 2023. Such a good book. I listened to and finished the same day, the 4th of Nono 9th. I read Pendrick's Demon by Lois Smith-Master Bujold. So this is the first book in the Pendrick and Desdemona novella series that takes place in the same world as the Curse of the Chalice. I think I have that book, or something close to that. Chalicin? I don't remember the name of the series. Anyway, but this is in the Five Gods world. So I've only read a couple books from her, is it Valkorian series? The space one. I've read a couple of that one. And I have not read her fantasy. So this is my first dip into that. And I said, I do have the first book in the Five Gods world. But these are like novellas that take place in between following Pendrick. So Pendrick is a young man who was on his way to be married, and he meets up with these people who are on the side of the road, and the old woman is dying from a heart condition, and somehow she transfers the demon that she was holding into him, and that just starts everything. Poor guy. But I like this because he's very likable, and he's very, like, he's just out of his element, and then things happen to him because of this thing. And then Desdemona is the demon that we get to know through this. So this is, again, just like 100 pages. I listened to it on audio from the library. I think my library has most of them, so I'm going to try to listen to them every once in a while. Just kind of insert them into my reading. I have the second one ready to go when I feel like it. But I really enjoyed it. Just a little fantasy, as a novella. It does make me want to go and pick up her bigger series with bigger books, but just not right now. I think I'm going to focus on the Pendrick and try to get through those first, and then I can go back and maybe read, because they're just, I think they're kind of just, within that same world. They're not really connected to that one. So anyway, and then I was going to start another book that was on my TBR, like as in the book I was one of my priority reads that I wanted to get to this month. But I decided to go back and read book 1 in the Nine Realms, A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff. I read this exactly a year ago at the beginning of last year, and then I just never continued because I planned to read book 2 in February, and then that's when I got the dreaded disease, and so then I was out. So I started to read the next book, and I'm like, all right, just opened it, and I'm like, no, I don't remember enough. I remember major points in there, and I did, as I was reading it, I remembered most of it, but it was really good to go back and revisit, and there are certain details that I don't know what I would remember from the last read. So I'm glad I reread it. I mean, so it wasn't, so like the third thing I finished this year was a reread, so we're starting off the year that way. Anyway, but I really, the series is one, don't read the back of the book. This is following a queen who, in her in her country, in the capital, in her castle, or her, palace or whatever, she is feeling like she's kind of trapped. Things are happening kind of outside of her control with her counselors, and she is trying to find a way to save her and her daughter, her heir, and things that happen from there. So there's a lot of political stuff in her country, and there's a lot of great details of the god system. And this one is very interesting how they interact with the people, because the queen is, the god favored one of the, that there's certain things that they have blue hair, and they have certain kind of talents, and it's very interesting, all different kinds of ones, that each queen has a different one, that it kind of goes with what's going on in the time period of what's happening, that the god will grant some kind of talent. But so there's a lot of political stuff on her, what she's done with it. And then there's a couple of snatches from some other countries and things that are happening, kind of more middle into the book. So it kind of broadens out the world. So I'm really looking forward to seeing. We're going to see more places in the world in the second book. But the first book was I'm really glad I went back. Don't read the back synopsis. Just know it is just a solid fantasy world where there is, some magic that is granted by the gods. And then the gods are sort of kind of involved in things, and some are not. So there's this kind of weird element to it. But it's a really quiet first book to a series. I think it sets up a lot of stuff, but just don't read the back because it spoils like half the book. Anyway, it just makes me mad still to this day, because I read that and then I read the book, and it was like, something that the things that it talks about in the back doesn't happen till almost halfway through this book, and it's stupid. It just makes me mad. Anyway, so this is a 4-book series. I plan to finish it this year. So, anyway, but I wanted to reread this just because, even though it's been a year and I remembered a lot of it, I'm glad I went back and got a lot more of the details so I can continue on. I do want to mention, I do have 2 DNFs real quick. I did try again An Irish Country Doctor by Patrick Taylor, and this just does not work for me. I think it's too quiet of a novel. I think it's very much a small town. I think it's in the 60s. I don't remember. Yeah, it was just, I got 35 pages in, both times I tried to read this, and I just couldn't get into it. I think it was just too domestic for me. I'm not drawn to it right now. Right now, I think a lot of the stuff I want to read is more action-based of some sort. So this just didn't work for me. I think it probably is a really great series for someone who wants to follow a small town and, again, a country doctor and things that they have to deal with. But it just didn't work for me, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm very disappointed, but I did not like The Mad Woman's Ball by Victoria Moss. This is translated from the French by Frank Wynne. So I only got 50 pages in, and I just decided I don't want to read this. So this is a very dark, short novel about women who are in this asylum in 1885. And most of them are there because they are hysterical. So some of them are not there for that reason, clearly, because, again, it has to do with medical practices at that time. And the guy who's in charge of the asylum is like the foremost authority on hysteria in women. And it was just really sad part of this, of how, like, at least one of the girls, why she was there. She was very young, and it hurt. So, and I knew this book would hurt me, I thought, and I was kind of prepared for that, and I didn't have a problem with that. My problem was that this switched where one of the girls it kind of went into kind of a spiritual, more the ghostly kind of looking at things where she could see spirits. And it just kind of threw me out of the story, because first of all, I didn't get that at all from the back. It's supposed to be where the women in this asylum have this ball every year where they're kind of put on display, I think, to kind of show other women not to not to show all their emotions, or not to try to, buck the system. And so I think there's stuff in here that probably would have been good. I just couldn't get behind this one storyline, because I knew that at some point she was going to have to go, she would be at the asylum, and but it was, It just didn't do anything for me. So I just lost interest. As I said, I read 50 pages and I just went, nah, I don't care. Not enough. So unfortunately, it's really pretty. And it's my first, official DNF of the year. This was on one of my lists that I was trying to get through on my translated list. So that's too bad. I think other people will enjoy this and can get past that. I just did not. I don't want to force anything that I don't want to read, and I didn't want to read after it started going in that direction because it wasn't. I was more prepared for what I thought it was going to go, and it didn't do that, and it just. Anyway, it just didn't work out for me. I'm not saying, I mean, I said, it's nothing like it's a bad book or anything. I'm just saying I didn't get along with it. Okay, so what I'm in the middle of, I did start The Queen of Raiders by Sarah Kozlov. So this is book 2 in the Nine Realms series. So I got about 50 or 48 pages. I already cried out of this book. I cried in the other book too for one scene, but the point is that this one really devastated me what happens, and I'm hoping in retrospect that something else is going to happen of why that happened, but right now it was too depressing. So I started this on Friday night, and but I could not pick it up yesterday. Like, I just was like, I can't read that right now. And I think it's because I reread the whole first book of, A Queen in Hiding, and then I went straight into this. And I don't think this is going to be a series I can binge back to back. I have to put books in between. So I will come back to this probably later this week or next week. I just need a break. That scene devastated me. But I still want to know what's going on. So it's not like I'm going to come back. This is on my currently reading, so I do have it there. I started Square Haunting, 5 Writers in London Between the Wars by Francesca Wade. Oh, I forgot to put the audio. I don't know who the audiobook person is, but I have it on audio. I own the audio, so I got the book from the library. And I got about like 54 pages in. So I read it after I finished Pendrick the Demon. I listened to this at work and on the way home one of the days, because the book I wanted to start, it wouldn't load on my Libby app, but Audible worked that day. So I started this one. I will come back to this. It's so very interesting because as I said, the one we're talking about is a poet and her life in this certain area in London, and it's talking about the time between the wars and them all living there at certain different times in their lives and how moving there helped them through certain things. And so it's very fascinating. I'm learning, I really enjoyed the first part of it, but I put it down because I wanted to start another audiobook because it was a really long one, and I only have 3 weeks from the library, so when I got home, I loaded it, so it was good for the next day. So the audiobook I'm in the middle of is Perdido Street Station by China Melville. So I read this back in 2011, and I swear I read it a second time, but I can't find my notes on it. If not, I just read it once, and I'm getting confused with The City in the City because I have read that twice. But I remember really, really enjoying this back then, and I bought these new copies because they're so cool. I didn't need them, but anyway, but I wanted to reread this because I want to finish this series. This is the new Krabuzan, something close to that series. I have all 3 of them on my shelf, and I've never continued on. So I decided to reread this because it's been over 10 years. So I started it again, and it is just the weirdest, this is definitely weird fiction, weird fantasy, which is what he mostly writes. And so, it's just weird because it's talking about this big town where we're following a scientist, Isaac, as he is working with helping someone who needs to find a way to fly again because they had their wings removed. And then they're also following his, Isaac's love interest, who is kind of caught with her art. She is caught by has a commission that is working for somebody very dangerous, and so she has to deal with what's going on there. And then there's a lot of weird things going on in the city at this time, and there's this strange bug. Anyway, this is one of the weirdest books, and it just keeps going, and it's just weird. So it's definitely a really big book. This edition is way bigger than my old edition was. This is like 860 pages. And it was a 24-hour audiobook. So as I said, I'm a little over, like just a little bit over a quarter of the way through for, part of the week and the weekend. So I figure this might take me all next week and then maybe into the early next week. But I do want to, as I said, I'm going to finish this up because it's a library book for the audio. And then hopefully move on to The Scar in a couple of months so that I can continue the series, because this is one of the trilogies I want to finish this year. So anyway, but I'm really enjoying my reread because I only remembered the bare basics of this one when I started it, because again, it's been over 10 years. I swear I read that twice, but maybe not. And then the other book that I'm in the middle of, I picked up yesterday when I couldn't read The Queen of Raiders, and that is Icelander by Dustin Long. So this is one of those ones I heard that was a weird book, and it is. And I just felt like because I was reading Perdita Station, I wanted to read something else weird, and because I loved all the Locked Tomb series, those were all weird. I picked up another weird book. This one's on my 23 in 2023 that I wanted to get to in January. So it is a murder mystery, but it's told very weird. So it's kind of built in this world, or it's not in this world. It's talking about a town in, like, I think it's in Pennsylvania, and the main character, one of her it was a friend, kind of a family friend who was good friends with her mother and with her, and she suddenly has been killed the day before, and we hear about it on that. So I'm trying to explain. How do I explain this? So there's a mystery of what happened to the woman who died. And then we have all this backstory of the main character and her mother. Her mother was somebody who kind of was like a Nancy Drew kind of thing. She kept getting involved in mysteries and she would solve things, and she had an arch nemesis. And so there's this whole like literary backstory because books were written about her from her diaries of these cases. But she's also was a real person, and the heroine, so the main character in here doesn't have a name. Her name is Our Heroine. And that's why hard to explain. So it's kind of weird in this world that she's now older, and her mom's been dead for many, many years, but these books are super popular. They have this day in her little town called Bean Day because that's her mother's maiden name. And they celebrate her mother and all her adventures and her fighting against this arch enemy, which is they're just so much fun. These little vignettes of what happened in the past with her mother, and how our heroine was also pulled into these when she was a kid, all these mysteries, and she got hurt or she got kidnapped or she got helped to solve the mystery. And it's so Nancy Drew like in the background. And then the main story, again, we're following her kind of hungover the day after she found out her this woman died that's a family friend, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and people are expecting her to go and solve the mystery because of her mother. And it's a weird book. So far I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna say it's like great, like perfect or anything, but I'm definitely intrigued to see how this goes, how the intersecting between the past stuff and the present, and how much is really what is affected from what happened in the past, or if this is all a new arch enemy or something. And she's, as I said, she's kind of hard on her luck because her husband left her at I think he left, but we haven't got the whole story on that, but he's been gone for like a few months or so. And it's a weird book anyway, but I'm enjoying that. So I hope to finish that up today, but we'll see. So then what I think I'm going to read in the next week, as I said, Perdita Station will be my audiobook, so that'll take a while. And if I do finish that, then I have Square Haunting to listen to, or the next Pendrick book, which was Pendrick and the Shaman. So I might read that. I did get from my library Haunted by the Past, which is book 11 in the Ishmael Jones series, so by Simon R. Green. So they've repackaged these kind of differently. But anyway, so this is my next one, a series that I want to continue. So these are, this is an alien who crash landed in the 60s, who doesn't age because, his alien craft made his body the way it is. And he and his partner Penny are usually figuring out other alien kind of mysteries so it's usually like a haunted country English manor mystery kind of thing. Anyway, so that's book number 11, which I'm really excited because I didn't know that was coming out. So I had been on the reserve list a little bit and then did that. I might pick up House Immortal by Devin Monk. So again, if I feel like reading The Queen of Raiders, I will continue on to that. But I might need to read another book before I start that one. House Immortal is the first book in the House Immortal series. It's a trilogy. One of the ones where I did a chapter on a couple of years ago and just have never continued. And this is actually, I didn't realize this, but it's actually a signed version. So I think I met her at one of the signings where they did during November. They have sometimes a big signing at one of the PAL stores where a lot of the authors are there to do stuff. So anyway, I must have got it at some point because it's to me. So, but this is following a woman who is kind of like built in some way where she has these kind of threads in her, and she is considered the galvanized, which is some kind of power. They're powerful humans of some sort, and are created in some way, which I don't remember now how that all works. But somebody else comes to her who also is the same way, saying that someone's out to get them all. And so I think it's fighting for their freedom and their stuff, because I think she's been hiding out in the country from the Capitol thing. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember, but it's a 3-book series. It's one of the ones I want to try that, I had done a chapter and decided to keep it, and I just haven't, kept on with it. So I do want to, hopefully I'll pick that up this month. But I'm hoping I might pick it up this week. It just matters on how I feel. And then I might pick up The Cabinet by Eun Soo Kim. So this is translated by Sean Lee Halbert, I think from the Korean. Yeah, South Korean. So Korean. So this is another weird book, but it's translated because my translated work didn't work out. So I want to try to get one in the month at least. So this one is, I think it has to do with some kind of weird cabinet that looks like it should be a normal one, but it's filled with files of people who have weird abilities and bizarre experiences and stuff. And I'm not sure, I keep thinking somebody goes through the cabinet, but then, something happens. Anyway, it just, it sounds like a really weird one. I've been wanting to read it since I bought it. I think I bought it last year sometime. I don't remember. But again, it's one of those ones I want to get to. So I might pick up this next. I don't know. Anyway, so that's all the books. As I said, of course I talked way too much, same as I always do. And Cooper is here being cute. Anyway, so that's it. My reading, as I said, I've read a lot last week because I read a couple big books in that, and then now I've started a gigantic book on audio, but I don't know what I want to pick up, so that's why I have so many options. And I'm partway through a couple things that I want to read, but I'm also DNFing things and just going, no, there's just so many books that I've started and I haven't continued, and I just need to get better about just going, I don't need these books. I was trying to explain to my friend last night that they were like, they almost never DNF. And they go, well, I spent money on this. And I go, I spend way more money than I should on books. I just can't be bothered. If I'm not enjoying it, I don't want to read it. All it will do will slow down my reading and not make me enjoy what I'm doing. So, I'm definitely here for the DNFs. I will just get rid of these, and, I will put them, as I said, I'll take them back first for credit. If that doesn't work, then I will donate them to my library, and hopefully somebody else will enjoy them. They're just not for me. And I just need to get better about deciding just to get rid of stuff. And I mean, I'm good at it, don't get me wrong, but I think I need to be even better about not just setting a sign, but really just going, yeah, that's just not working. But again, that's not a priority, but it's more of I'm reminded that I just need to do that. Anyway, I think that's it. So what are you guys reading? How was your first week of 2023? As I said, I will probably have my stats video and my series update video up this week sometime. Because as I said, I put all that data together, which was a little shocking, which it always is. And so I will get that. And then I think that's it. So let me know how you guys are doing, on what books you are enjoying, and I will see you guys later. Bye.